I'm back, and they're back again with another installment of Top 5 Greatest Players in each NBA team's respective franchise history. For this edition, it's the Golden State / San Fran / Philadelphia Warriors. I'm counting all three into one. And it's going to be an interesting list to see how this plays out. Now, for this your first time checking this out, I got both in the comments and the description box the playlist so you can check all the installments out. If this is your first time catching, you can do so. Also, one rule I put in for myself, I can only use a certain player one time. So I can only use Kevin Durant one time through the entire series. Spoiler alert, I'm not using him for all-time Warriors. He'll be used for a different team. So Kevin Durant will not be on this list. But with that being said, let's dive right into it. Starting with a few honorable mentions. And now I think about it, this team has a deep-rooted history. Because I'm looking at it. Start with the honorable mentions. We'll go with Jason Richardson, who was one of the better Warriors during the down period in the 2000s where the Warriors were kind of irrelevant. Richardson was a fun player to watch. Not a great player, but a fun player to watch. Certainly exciting style on the court. And he had some fans intrigued. Certainly one of the better players of a down period for the Warriors. Now, moving on. Rick Barry. He was a contributor to the 1975 Warriors championship win back when the Warriors won a championship back in the 70s. Now, he's not the most synonymous player that comes to mind in Warriors history, but he was a significant part of their franchise, and he contributed to a championship win. Not the big time period in their franchise history. There is some asterisk on it, kind of a weaker, but worthy of an acknowledgement. Moving on, you got Chris Mullin. He was a player for the Warriors back in the 90s. He was a player like late 80s, early 90s. Good player. Not part of the greatest era in Warriors history, but a guy at least worthy of acknowledging. Last honorable mention is Draymond Green, the third man behind the Golden State Warriors in the Stephen Curry era. Not the greatest player in the league, but a good system fit who played his role well. At least worthy of an honorable mention for all-time Warriors. Now on to the actual list itself. It's going to be interesting. We're going to start number 5. I'm going to go with a guy some of you might never have heard of, a guy named Guy Rodgers. Now, he was out of Temple, drafted by the Philadelphia Warriors. He was considered a prolific playmaker back in the 60s, one of the best of his era, 4-time All-Star, and, a 2-time assist leader. One of the best players of his era. Doesn't get much love because this was considered, for lack of a better term, a weaker era, but still one of the better players throughout Warriors history, at least worthy of an acknowledgement as one of those all-time greats. And another one, now this is going to, some of you might think he's a little too low, but I'm going with Klay Thompson, the number 2 guy in the Steph Curry era. He was there for all 4 championship wins, all 6 finals appearances in the Steph era. Great three-point shooter. Part of that duo, the Splash Brothers, considered by some to be the greatest duo in NBA history, or the greatest backcourt in NBA history at the 1 and 2. And Klay Thompson certainly was a key contributor to the Warriors throughout that dynasty. He's always the number 2 guy. Long before Kevin Durant came and they formed the super team. Let's remember, it was always Steph and Klay originally. They won that first chip in 2015 together. They got back to the finals in 2016 together. They won that chip in 2022, long after the super team was done. So Steph and Klay are the 2 guys that are always there the most. Certainly worthy of an all-time great Warrior. Now, this is where I get to number 3. Here's a guy some of you guys may not have heard of, but one of the best players of his era. Paul Arizin, out of Temple. He retired. He was the 3rd highest scorer in totals at the time of his retirement. He played through the 60s and 70s. Not the era that we're fond of the most, but he was one of the best of his era. He was a key contributor to those Philadelphia Warriors team. He was a contributor to a championship win during his time. And, it's a name that some people forget about, which is one of the pros of being able to use certain players only once. So I get to acknowledge him as it. If you guys want to Google him up a little bit, you'll realize, hey, he was an important figure years back. Certainly one of the all-time great players in that franchise history from Philadelphia and San Fran, Oakland Bay Area. Now we move on to number 2. I'm going to go Wilt Chamberlin number 2. Now, Wilt Chamberlin is the most important name on this list, but I got him number 2. And the reason why is because as great as he was, he's not the most synonymous player in franchise history. Now, back when he was in Philly and the Philadelphia Warriors, he did score 100 points in a game. Certainly worthy of acknowledgement. Weasley, one of the all-time great players, one of the most dominant players of all time. The original poster boy for the NBA alongside Bill Russell. But similar to Russell, with Boston being number 2 on my all-time Celtics list, the one asterisk is he did play during a weaker era. He dominated, great stats, not taking anything away from him. But however, the competition wasn't as strong. I don't mean that as a knock against Wilt Chamberlain, but it is part of it. But there is also one player more synonymous with the Golden State / Philadelphia Warriors history than Wilt Chamberlain, as great as he is. And that's number 1, Steph Curry, 4-time champion, the greatest three-point shooter of all time, the leader for most three-point shots made in NBA history, multi-time Finals MVP. Is that correct? Multi-time, but yeah, let me double check. But yeah, Finals MVP, League MVP, led the 73-9 Warriors, the greatest regular season record of all time. Unfortunately, they won one few too many games, and they ended up losing Game 7 that Finals, but they still have 4 Finals rings outside of that. Steph Curry was the leader the entire time in the face of the Golden State Warriors, and revolutionary, because now you see how significant the three-point shot is in today's game. Steph Curry influenced many players, centers, power forwards, guards, small forwards, to shoot threes. Three-point shooting has become more prolific since Steph and Curry started to revolutionize the three-point shot. So, to me, hey, the first player that comes to mind with Golden State Warriors history, a guy that had a significant influence on the game, helped win 4 championships for a franchise that was the drizzling you-know-what prior to that, easily the greatest Warrior of all time. So there's my list for you guys. You want to give me your top 5 list in the comments, feel free to do so. Also, drop a like and subscribe for more content. So until next time, when I drop the top 5 greatest Houston Rockets of all time, have yourselves a great day. And until then, your boy Nicky Stees signing off.